Are you considering selling your retail business? Do you want to learn how to prepare your business for sale and to stand out to potential buyers? Get your books into shape and avoid common mistakes that could lower your business value? Well, join us today to find out more. Kia ora, I'm Carolyn Young, Chief Executive at Retail NZ. I'm joined today by Sarah Churstain, who's a partner with Ford Sumner Lawyers. Retail NZ has recently partnered with Ford Sumner to provide Retail New Zealand members with expert legal advice and advocacy across corporate, commercial, property, dispute resolution and employment law. Retail NZ members will be entitled to an exclusive 10% discount on Ford Sumner's standard hourly rates. So don't forget, as a Retail NZ member, there's some great benefits for you. So kia ora and welcome, Sarah.
Kia ora, Carolyn. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So we've got a few quick questions that we've prepared, so let's get straight into them. So when a retail business owner is thinking about selling, what's the first step that they should take to assess their business value? And who should they talk to about it?
Great question, Carolyn. Accounting advice is obviously crucial when first thinking about selling your business. You want to ensure that your business finances are in the best possible shape. The very first person to talk to about that issue is obviously your company accountant or your business accountant. We recommend making contact with your accountant early in the process. Your accountant will be able to give you advice as to how to establish a value for your business, which in turn will obviously guide a purchase price ultimately when you get to that point in the process. There's a few ways that you can actually establish the valuation of your business. One way is for your accountant to essentially do a desktop valuation. Generally, that's the cheaper of the options, but there's also at the other end of the extreme on valuations, you can also get a full-blown valuation by a valuation specialist completed as well. Often, if you've included a broker in the process, business broker, they may also be able to provide you with a desktop valuation. One thing I would say about that is make sure you look into the qualifications of the broker to actually understand what their professional background is and whether or not they're qualified to provide that valuation, because often it is actually the accountant or specialist valuer that's best placed to do it.
And I guess you want to be able to rely on the numbers that are given. So is the broker working for you, or are they going to work for the buyer? Whereas if you get your accountant to do it, they're actually, or a valuer, then it's your valuation and that's your starting point for a negotiated price.
That's right, yes. The one thing I'd say about getting an independent valuer, that's obviously really the gold standard in valuation, but ultimately that may be the more expensive option. So it really depends on ultimately the type of business you're selling that will guide which way you go.
Yeah. Now, look, we all know that when we're selling a house, we often look at, tidying up the house, doing a bit of painting work, clearing out the garden, getting rid of all the extra stuff that we have around home. From a business perspective, if business owners are looking to streamline their operations before a sale, make the business more attractive, what would they do?
Great question again. So similar to getting your business, your house ready for sale, ultimately you need to get your business house in order. So that involves doing things like actually looking at all your current business and commercial relationships. Have you got all your key contracts documented? Have you got those documents actually signed? What's the status of your employment relationships and your contractor relationships? Are those all up to date as well? One key thing when selling a business is making sure that you have rights to your intellectual property and technology used in that business. So that's actually looking behind the scenes at do you have rights to use the brand that you're using? Have you got rights to use all of the tech that you're using in your business? It's making sure that you're getting all of those things in order as well. The other thing is making sure that you've got accurate company's office and share register details as well. So you might have made some shareholding changes or company's office changes over time, making sure that those have all been properly updated and notified as well. Those would be really the main things I would say about getting your business house in order, so to speak. But we've also got a really detailed article on our website, on the Ford Sumner website, just regarding planning for a business sale and all of those key company matters and business matters that you need to actually look at.
Amazing. And that link to the website is included just down below. So don't forget, click on it there and you'll be able to find that article, which is really great advice. Look, what role does having solid financial records play in the business evaluation, and how can owners ensure that their numbers are in good shape?
Yeah, obviously, the more accurate and easy to follow a business records are, the more likely a purchaser and their advisors for that matter will be comfortable proceeding with a purchase at the purchase price you desire. Solid financial records are obviously critical in business evaluation. Your financial records are ultimately a tool to establishing value. So if they're inaccurate or incomplete, that'll obviously detract a purchaser and make it more difficult to establish an accurate value for your business and support the purchase price. So it's making sure that your financial statements are accurate, that you've got them all done, that you've been keeping up with your tax obligations. And in addition to that, making sure you're not doing things such as mixing your personal and business finances. That's often a very common one that comes up, particularly in small to medium businesses. So it's making sure that's in order as well.
I was just going to say that, right? Because people often, they can mix those because they own the business and they can choose sometimes where they put those expenses. But if you're thinking the year or two you might be selling your business, you might want to think about how you ensure that your business expenses are really clean in terms of that space, so that the valuation is a true reflection of what your costs are, because the higher your costs and the lower your margin of your profit, the more concern a buyer will have about paying good value for the business. So I think it's really good to think well in advance around how you clean those expenses between the personal and private. So personal and business, I think it's a really good point. So,
Right.
what are some of the other factors that can either boost or lower a value of sale from a buyer's perspective?
Yeah, so the terms of your key contracts is one of the classic issues that comes up. So if I use a lease for a business premises, for example, if you've got quite a short term left on your lease, obviously the concern for a prospective purchaser is that they don't have a guaranteed tenure in that business premises for an enduring period. And when you're purchasing, you obviously need to know that you've got a guarantee of being in that premises, or you've got a plan around that at least. So if the term, for example, was too short, that can be a concern to prospective purchasers. Similarly, though, if you've got a really long term on a lease, that can be seen as a bit of a detraction from the purchase as well, because that obviously means more risk for a prospective purchaser, and they may not be prepared to actually agree to sign up to a really long lease when at the end of the day there's risk of purchasing, and need to obviously know that they can manage that risk within the business. There's other things in your lease that could also be a bit of a detraction from the purchase, and that's things like onerous terms in the lease, perhaps quite significant make good obligations at the end of the lease that can certainly impact value and a purchaser's decision to proceed. We've talked about obviously a lease, but there's other key contracts. So if you've got a key contract with a supplier or with a customer that is critical to the business, and there's no clear terms around that, they're not well documented, or they're onerous terms, so they're quite difficult, potentially quite stringent terms, that would be seen as a distraction as well, and potentially impact the value as well. Probably the last thing I would say that comes up really often in business purchases is the role of key employees or key staff in the business. So if you're going in to purchase a business and you've got key staff, you may be very interested to know that they want to stay with the business, that they are likely to continue after you purchase, and what the terms of those arrangements are as well.
Great advice. And I think, when I think about it, the other thing that I always consider is that when you are selling something, you have no concept around who the other person necessarily is and whether they would see value in something. So as straightforward and simple and as bulletproof as you can present, contracts and leases, and understand where your key staff are. If those all things can be in order, then, hopefully it will smooth line the ability for someone to see the business as an attractive proposition to buy.
That's right.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah. It's been really great chatting to you and hear how Ford Sumner Lawyers is supporting retailers in our sector.
Thanks for having me, Carolyn.
It's a pleasure. If you want more advice as a Retail NZ member, please reach out to the team so that we can get you in touch with Ford Sumner and you can take benefit of all the Retail NZ T's and C's. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Please check out the links for further information. This was part of our Empowering Retail series, your go-to resource for short, actionable insights designed to take your retail business to the next level. Watch our episodes and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, ka kite anō. Bye for now.